Morning all, David here. Hope you like the shades. It's uh, it's the first proper sunny spring day of the year. I feel it's really early and it's really sunny. So anyway, today I'm gonna try and follow up on the last video. A second to last video actually about authenticity and the filters and trying to find out, which is the genuine you, which is your genuine thoughts, which of them do you repress or change because of conforming to standards or appropriateness, and which of them don't you do that with, and how and where and when do you display your unique self. So it throws up a bit of a dilemma when you start talking about that, and certainly like leaving it on the question that I did, which is, what have you got left? What's authentic? If there's a need to filter what you say and what you do and what you think, it opens the door to a whole other mode, a whole other array of approaching how we live our lives. Now, I'm going to make a lot of assertions in this short video. I'm not looking to try and prove anything here. I'd need to write a book for that, which hopefully I'm going to. A collection of ideas to kind of back this up. So yeah, I'm going to make a lot of assertions. So just go with it for now, for the sake of argument. If you want to talk about it, leave a comment or whatever it is. So, how do we decide? What kind of filtration system do we use that we can rely on to wade through all of the junk? Because there is a load of junk that comes into our consciousness. All of the random thoughts, images, visions that come in. That's not to say that all of them are like that. Some of them are helpful, some of them are good, some of them is great, but a lot of it is unhelpful or ridiculous or nonsense or dangerous. That has to be acknowledged, and in the same question of how do we wade through all that, we have to acknowledge, or we have to look to modes of thinking or systems of knowledge and ideas which have dealt with this before. And there is that, there's people like Carl Jung who's dealt with the shadow, for example. Modern spiritual ideas call it the ego. So what that's a representation of is, I mentioned it in the other video, our conditioning. Now our conditioning is, we don't have any say on it. It's all of the information that comes from outside ourselves, from the word go, that we have no control over, from family, family systems, community, culture, cultural narratives, society, societal norms, which are all transient. As I say, we've got no say on that. So that mixes with what we bring to the world, our inheritance, our genes, our behavioural types, whatever it is, and that conditions us. So our conditioning gives us narrative, gives us stories, gives us memories, and essentially gives us, because we live in a world of survival, I'm really simplifying things here, because we live in a world of survival and we fear for the loss of ourself, we develop protective mechanisms to help us in our journey to survive. And upon reflection, when you get older, some of those behaviours end up being not so good and not serving you. That's part of the ego, the shadow, or the conditioning. Again, simplifying things a lot here. But if we choose to undertake the work in finding out exactly what our conditioning is, what our shadow is, what our ego is, basically which parts of ourselves are no longer necessary to function properly are no longer necessary to be genuine, to be authentic, to have a more a real experience of the world. If we find out those things out, we can begin the process of removing them, or it's not removing them as in like violently shoving them out. The process of removal, and this is where a whole other topic comes in. These days we call it mindfulness. Being mindful is literally just paying attention, being aware. That can be meditation, it could be intense spiritual work, it could be a mixture of things, but something that involves beginning to observe our conditioning in the way that it appears as thoughts, helpful or not. So that's what the spiritual work is, that's what the life journey is for me. It's having a greater and greater awareness of our conditioning, all of that unhelpful stuff, that if we simply become familiar with it, acknowledge it, we can start to act in a way where we're not acting from that. We don't associate with it. We're not informed by it. And we see that that's not actually us. What we actually are is something far greater and deeper than just the random thoughts that pop in, which have some basis in a narrative we've constructed of who and what we are based on survival mechanisms. So this is a big topic, people. Take many more videos and explanations to cover, but yet I'm just getting to the point of trying to answer that question of like, what is it that's us? What kind of filtration system do we use to be authentic and to have a unique life? So I'm just touching on it a bit here in this video. So I'm going to finish up on that note, and I'm going to get out on this lovely day, and I'll see you all soon.